Hey everybody, it's Dive Girl Dab. Well, I haven't talked to you guys about apitherapy for a while because I've been working on a sailboat project. But I have a new device that I invented for our bees. I think it's going to be a better, cleaner way to feed them. And if you can keep the honey off of your bees, they will survive. And isn't that the thing that we really want? All right, so what you're looking at is a typical Biza hut. It comes with a container here that you're supposed to put honey in that you put upside down here. And I hate these for honey because they always drip. And in fact, if we look inside of mine, you'll see this little plastic device in here. What is that? Well, if you ever were in a bar, you probably saw one of these and didn't realize it. But this is what's called a drip tray. And it's a bar keeping device. It's called a drip tray. And this one is 6.3 inches wide by 4.7 inches long. And it's got a 1/16 inch rim around the outside. And so what I've done is take my sander and I sanded off that rim. And then I had to make some modifications to this box to get it to slide in here. But essentially, what happens is that any honey that drips will collect in here and keep it off the bees. And this has been what I've used to kind of prevent this problem for a long time, but it really only stops honey from flowing out of the box through the floor cracks. And it doesn't really give the bees a chance to come back and collect it because it's just too thick. Their tongues are only a 1/4 inch long. So once honey goes in, it stays. Not ideal. But today what I did is I sat down and started thinking this through, and I'm like, what I want is I want a tray that sits in here and it's horizontal when the box is this way, and then it's still horizontal when you lift it up for storage. So when you're not using your bees, they're going to set up this way, but then when you want to go catch bees, you need to turn it over. So we need to have something that will rotate. And I've got some pretty deep genetic traits in me that involve engineering. So I started playing around and I'm going to show you what I came up with. Now, I will not be putting these in production. This is a DIY video. So if you want to give it a shot, I'm going to show you how I did it. All right, introducing the new honeybee feeder. Dun dun dun. And it's really a tricky device because it's always going to stay level. It's not going to turn upside down. Now, I did put a lot of thought in this. A bee space is 3/8 of an inch, and so you need something at least 3/8 of an inch that a honeybee can get into, but you don't want her to be able to fall in. And so these little squares will give her the chance to hold herself up off of the honey while she sticks her head down there to lick it up. This is simply a box that I had. It was a little cardboard box, and I literally cut it out of this one. And I wanted something that wasn't too wide because it doesn't have to be all that wide. And so you can see that this one's about 3 inches or so. And there you go. This is about 3.5 inches. And it wasn't too terribly deep either, which I thought was kind of good. So that's about 1.5 inches. Once again, these are not critical measurements. Just happens to be a box that I had available. So what I did is just cut the bottom out into this form. And it took a little trial and error. And the other thing that I used was these combs are from a silicone mini ice cube trays, and you can buy 2 of these for about $5 on Amazon or Walmart. Amazon had them, and so what I did is once I got the size of my tray established, then I took a pair of scissors and I cut out a chunk of this so that I could glue it on and just trim it with scissors. It's really soft, easy to work with, and made sure that I had a wall on the outside of everything, okay? Because you don't want to try to fill honey with this sidewall here and there's none and your box is on the outside, because that would leak and it would destroy your box and then your whole structure would melt down with honey. So you want to make sure you have walls on all the sides here, and I do. All 4 sides have a wall. Okay, and then I had some of these little plastic little doodads from my boat. I use them as spacers because I kind of didn't want it to slop around too much, and so I put these little white spacers on there. Now you could probably go and do something like a straw or whatever that you have around the house, and then I just around the wire through it, and I just put some hot glue gun around the outside. I did not put it underneath because I didn't want to get it inside of the wire, because you want the wire to be a hinge and just move around quite easily. And so, yep, I use my glue gun and a drill to be able to drill some holes in the box. This is literally a coat hanger wire, and this thing is really simple, and I wanted it to be simple and cheap to be able to build. Of course, the other thing I wanted to do is to make sure that I still had space to be able to put a cage of bees in the box and to pop the lid like this and give them a chance to come out while that's still in there, because your feeder has to be in there full of honey, ready to go when you put your bees in. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to open it and fill that feeder. So they have to work together. Now, I did have to drill some holes in the box, and there are several here that are trial and error. But the one that works is the one that has the X on it there. And I'm going to give you some measurements from the back wall. It is just about 2 inches. And then from the top, it's pretty darn close to the same. So if you put your hole about 2 inches, then what you're going to get is this is going to be able to swing and not touch that back wall. Because remember, this back wall comes in about 1/2 inch. And so that's going to be able to swing without touching anything really nicely. All right, so there you go. So it just threads through. And then I'm just going to bend this over when I get once I get this loaded up, just ever so slightly. It won't be bent as far as this one is over here. That one's got a 90-degree bend in it. I won't go that far because I'm going to want to be able to occasionally remove this for washing. But let's watch it in action. So here you're in the mode where you can collect bees while you're doing your therapy, getting them ready in your tongs. And then when you lift it up to put it back, look at that dude. She's still level. So now you're not going to have honey dripping out everywhere. And your bees can come down and feed off of it, which is great. And can I get a cage in here? Yep, it still fits. And it's okay that it's touching right here because you're only going to leave that cage in there for a day. I think I can get 2 cages in here actually with the space. But you're only going to leave it in for a day, and once they come out, you're going to remove the box, and then you can set it up right again. So now we have a feeder that rotates, and I think that's awesome. And now we can use our jar for water, which the bees are going to need. So now you've got honey and water, both are offered up so that the bees can come and feed when they want. You really shouldn't have any drips. I just am really happy with this. It's really a prototype because I've never built one before, but I think it would be something that a lot of folks would be interested in because it's going to give your bees a better chance to feed properly and to not have honey oozing out the floor. So, and the reason I put these spacers here is that I didn't want this whole thing to slide over against the wall when I'm moving it. I wanted to have at least 3/8 of an inch here, which is bee space, so that we didn't crush any bees while you're moving the box around. So as long as your straw or spacer here, it can be like a wooden thimble off of some thread that you've used. It can be anything. You could use a bead, a drinking straw, any kind of little spacer right there is going to work just fine. But you want to have about a 3/8 inch little space there so that that doesn't go and slam them up against the wall and crush them, because their exoskeletal is what protects them from dehydration. And now it's true, mine is not completely level because the wire is a little bit higher on one side and not the other. But at the end of the day, the bees are not going to care. I sure as hell don't. So there you go, guys. How to make a dripless bee feeder in a DIY setting with a little silicone ice cube tray, a mini one, and some hot glue, and drill some holes in your box. And you guys can make these yourselves. It's really simple. So I'm going to use it this summer, and I will update folks as to how this works out. So I think it's going to work pretty well. So there you go, a new feeder for your bee venom. Enjoy, guys. Bye-bye.